All right, I think it started recording. So welcome everyone again. Happy New Year. Also welcome to the first Loki community call of the year. Nice to see a lot of new faces today. And I am Kaviraj. I am working as a software engineer in Grafana Labs. And I'm also one of the maintainer of Loki open source project. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. Let me share my screen. And for the people who want to access the doc, I'm sharing a link again in the doc. Sorry, in the chat. So if you have anything to add to the agenda or open my question and answer, feel free to add it. We can discuss it in this hour. Yeah, sure. Is it good, man?
Yep, it's great. Thanks.
No worries. Excuse me. All right, so yeah, let's get started. We don't have much agenda also today. Also, I think a lot of folks are already in holidays, both internally. So one change I think from the last community call is we released a minor version, 2.7.1, and I think there is a link if you want to know more detail. You can click on this and see what's happening there. But I think the major change is like the experimental feature. We released the deletion mode has been reverted to the filter only as a default one, because of there is a bug which kind of like deletes the wrong chunks sometimes. I think we don't have the fix for it yet, so we just made it only. The default behavior is filter only till the bug is fixed. And the other one is now the endpoint for submitting the delete request to the compactor is also support gRPC basically. I think Sandeep added that one. If people, Sandeep, maybe if you have more context on this, maybe you can share with the deletes and also with the.
Yeah.
I think the delete one is by Trevor. He's not here, but if Michelle is here, maybe he can give a context about the bug, or.
Yeah, so I have the context about the bug.
Cool. Thanks, Sandeep.
So there's a bug which causes us to delete more data than that was requested. So we had to change it to filter only until we fix that bug and do a new release. So by default, Loki would do query time filtering instead of doing any deletion on the logs. And I think next release should have this fix. I have the fix already, but I need to go through the code again and review the tests so that we don't miss any places where we delete more data than expected.
Cool. Thanks, Sandeep. By the way, do you also have any idea about the single compactor HTTP client fix? I think it's made by Perry, right? Sometimes back. So it was causing some issue when the two middleware were enabled at the same time. I think he did some fix.
Sorry, I don't have context for that.
Okay. Yeah, I think my understanding there is, I think it was causing some weird error messages like a 404 status code when both this middleware was enabled. So even though the delete is, I think, disabled, I think this was causing some error, I guess. So I think he fixed that so that it won't show the song error message. That's my understanding. Maybe I'm missing something here. If anyone has any other context, I don't know if Perry is here, but yeah, if anyone has any context, feel free. I think that's about the minor version. Feel free to try it out. Report any bugs if anyone faces any issues. I think the one which also got recently merged is this new feature. I think it's also from one of our contributor, like one of our maintainer, I think, external maintainer. is they added like a sort and sort description, sort descending, functions to LogQL, which is similar to PromQL has. So yeah, I think it's basically like takes an instant vector. Basically, what you can apply it on any function that already returns instant vector, and it gives you a sorted instant vector again. So yeah, I find this really useful actually. I wanted something like this for some time in Nokia, but yeah, feel free to try it out. Yeah. Then yeah, the next one is LogQL formatter. I think we didn't talk about this in the last one, I guess. That's why I added it here. Okay. So this is something I think, yeah, it came out of like a hackathon project internally. So this is actually inspired from PromQL formatter, which also got merged, like I think a couple of versions before in Prometheus. So the general idea is like take any valid LogQL expression and format it in a way so that it's easy to understand and easy to get the control flow, for example. Yeah, those kind of things. Yeah, and also it works nice with the binary operator. Let's say which one executes first based on the precedence and stuff. So yeah, the actual change is basically like we have a new endpoint format query. So we submit any LogQL query either as a GET or POST request, it should return you the formatted one. And also we integrated with the LogCLI. So you can do LogCLI format and you can just cat to the command actually. So it's not integrated into Grafana yet, but that's yeah, I think we'll follow up with the Grafana team to integrate this one, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, still you can play with it. Yeah, that's something I think it's worth mentioning here. Yeah, so yeah, the next one is from Matthias. See here.
That is me.
Cool. It's all yours.
Sure. So if I can share my screen, that would be easier to demonstrate.
Sure.
Minute, please. All right. So for context, I'm Matthias from the Loki Datasource team, from the Logs team. So basically, we've been working on making querying simpler for everyone, from different perspectives, from newcomers to people who extensively use Loki. And one of the feedback that we received was about processing errors. So if you run a query that is wrong, you used to get this parse error at line whatever, column whatever. So what we did, we implemented query validation, combining the query parser, the syntax parser with the Monaco editor. So you are able to, as you write queries, you can, as in Visual Studio Code, you get some feedback on where in your query it has an error, and it displays a visual view. So as you write queries, once it is valid, it will stop displaying errors. So if you make a mistake or if your query is incomplete, you will be able to actually see it. And it has another two cool things, two cool features. One is that you usually will get the errors that are displayed will point to the same line and column as actually three. So that is one. It will match the parse error that you get from the response. Second is that we support interpolation because our syntax processor doesn't understand Grafana concepts like variables, but it will actually interpolate variables, and then run it through the parser to get any errors and display them if there are. Otherwise, it doesn't display false negatives. And the third one is that it also supports, obviously, multi-line queries. So you can write it in whatever way you used to do it. So really interesting, cool feature that we added should be available in the next release. That's it for me.
Nice. Thanks, Matthias. So we can also add a comment there, right? That shouldn't disturb the validation error there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. Thanks. And when we expect the next release to go on, by the way? When this will be available?
Not really sure if it's 9. I think it will be 9.3, or maybe the next, 9.4, or maybe 9.3 dot, whatever. Not really sure, but it's already on main. So
Cool. Thanks again. Yeah. So far, if anyone have any questions or any clarification you want to make, feel free. Excuse me.
Yeah, I actually had a question about the compactor genome stuff.
Sure.
Are there plans to migrate that to gRPC to sort of be in line with how the rest of the components communicate? And if there aren't, like, what's special about it? And yeah, it's a bit of a. I'll give you a little context for the question. It's a little painful to, like, configure the correct addresses for compactors. So, like, instead of using the ring right now, there's like a fixed address for the compactor, and communication happens over HTTP. So it's like a little bit harder to track. And yeah, so yeah, are there other plans to sort of shore that up? Would you be accepting patches to fix that?
I can talk about it. So we have already added support for gRPC, like talking to compactor over gRPC for internal communication. And regarding your question about not being able to, like, having to configure a static address for compactor, I think we still have to do that because there should be only one compactor responsible for performing deletions and applying custom retention and compaction. So that would still continue to be the same. You can configure a new config called compactor gRPC address, something like that, which is already merged, and it should be there in the next release.
Thanks. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Sandeep. Any more questions, folks? If not, we can move on. So yeah, the other one I added here, which is almost close to be merged. I think it has some conflicts to be merged. I think this is added by Ed, I think. So yeah, I think I face this problem, like, personally all the time when I want to, particularly using LogCLI, when I want to enter the absolute time for the range queries. It's always hard. So I mean, the LogCLI, we had like a small hack to calculate the start and end based on the relative time. But what this PR does is it supports natively to the query path itself, I mean the endpoint itself. So now we can pass this since query parameter to the endpoint. Doesn't matter from where you are making the query, from the relative time. So since 1 hour, since 2 hour. So in order to specify the exact time, end time, for example. So yeah, so yeah, I think it's approved. It will be merged soon, I think. So yeah, that's something coming to the Loki. What else? I don't have anything else on the agenda. Before we jump on to open mic, do any of you guys have anything to add here, or any questions, anything to discuss before we move on? Okay, then we can move on to the open questions. I think the first one is basically, I think it started as an internal discussion from Danny. I think he's here. So yeah, I think Danny, do you want to take it? Yeah.
Sure thing. So we've been getting some really nice engagement from the community lately, and we really appreciate that. And obviously, it's all part of this open source process that we go through, and sometimes we receive pull requests from contributors that are rather large, contributing features that those contributors would like, but sometimes those features are either being worked on at Grafana Labs, or they shouldn't be implemented in that particular way, or there just needs to be some discussion about how that implementation should work. And we want to try and engage more with the community ahead of time, before all of that work gets done, so that we can make sure that we're aligned, and that the amazing work that all of you contributors are making to Loki is not wasted, right? Because we've had a couple of PRs come through, and it turns out that the particular implementation wouldn't work or wouldn't scale, and then we had to go back to the drawing board. So we're trying to think of the best way to do this. And the way that we do this internally at Grafana Labs is we have design documents. And so these documents describe the background to the problem, and then a few like pointing out the particular all of the individual problems that an individual is facing, and then what they would like to do to solve it. And then internally we discuss and come to some consensus. Now, with the community, that's obviously a little different, and we could either do that with design documents in Google Docs, or we could do it in GitHub for GitHub discussions. But we wanted to check in with you folks and find out what would be the best way to engage with the Loki team before going down the road of implementing some big features.
Yeah, I think thanks for bringing this up, Danny. So we definitely need something like this, but I'm also not sure what's the right way to go here. I mean, given like people are comfortable with issues and PRs, I think we can start with like, we can ask, or also we can add in the contributors guide or in the README, just asking you to like open an issue with a proposal title before submitting a PR. Maybe that would be the good first step, in my opinion. Yeah, and also like I think one of the discussion came up is also like using GitHub discussion for this kind of things. I don't know how easy is that. One more thing to maintain, one more thing to watch for, anything. So yeah, I mean, my personal opinion would be like how like something start simple, like having an issue before opening this kind of PR. Just add it in the contribution guide, add it in the README, and wherever we can link it would be a good option, I think. But I'm really curious to understand what other people think, like other external people or external contributors. Harvey, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I really like the having a main issue with the problem explained and some design guidelines and stuff like that discussed, but quite often having a live discussion helps a lot. So I don't know how you do it internally. Do you often have live discussions between developers from different teams to discuss it? And if it's something you do internally, is something that can be open to external contributors, just like these sessions, like we're having right now, but with more development oriented or design oriented.
Generally, we try and keep these things asynchronous so that there's a record. So if there's just a discussion between two individuals, that obviously wouldn't be very easily searchable. It does happen though, and sometimes these high bandwidth discussions are really useful. And I think, this has happened in the past where individuals ask one another, like, hey, if I wanted to implement this feature, how should I go about it? And then they talk a little bit about the implementation detail. But no agreement is really made internally without a design document. So even though there would be that high bandwidth communication to figure out a few different proposals, ultimately the design document is the record of all of those decisions that are made. And we would want something like this for the community too, because we want to be transparent and we want to make sure that all of the inputs and outputs from these discussions are captured, so anybody can go and review them and see if they agree or not. So yeah, I do think that there is a space for dropping down into Slack, for example, and discussing like the finer details of particular points. We're certainly not going to discourage that. But the major points I think should be captured in the issue if we're going to go that route, or in the GitHub discussion or the design document, whichever way we go. I'm personally in favor of a Google Doc, but the problem there is that we would need to initiate the creation of that Google Doc so that it's owned by the Grafana Labs org, for no other reason than if somebody external creates that design document and then they close their GitHub account, or something else happens, then we lose that historical record. So we want to make sure that we have that design document permanently. So that's the problem with Google Docs, but I think it's probably easy enough to get around. Eve?
Yeah, I really love Google Docs also, but I think what's interesting in Google Docs is that we can work together on a document. And in my opinion, it works really well when we can talk at the same time, just like we're doing right now. We are discussing different solutions and we are writing at the same moment what are the ideas emerging from the discussion.
Right.
And so it's really great as a live document, whereas the GitHub PR, the GitHub issue is nice for like formalizing stuff and having the history. And so yeah, but so I understand both points. And we at my company at James Farm, we have the same questions, so I don't have the right answer. I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'll say that if any external contributors want to get involved and make a large contribution, it's perfectly fine to reach out on Slack and say to one of the maintainers, hey, can we have a chat about this quickly? Jump on a call. I want to implement this feature in this way. Can we write the design document together? That's totally cool. That would be really, really nice.
Yeah, just a note here. I think when Owen was doing this out of order thing, I think he made a good job of creating this design doc and putting it in both open source repository and also as a part of a document page, so that even if you can go to Loki docs page, there will be a design docs. Under that there will be like out of order removal constraints or something. So I think there are like 2-3 design docs similar to that. I don't know, maybe that worked for them, I don't know. So we can, I mean there are different products here, right? One, there is a collaboration is there, and then the contributors' time and effort before creating this PR. And the other thing is maintaining the history and visibility, right? If future we comes in and see why this decision is being made, we should be able to find it easily. Usually, if it's in the part of open source repository, then that's the ideal place, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, I just want to point out this out of order design docs is still part of the open source repository.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Kavi. I forgot about that actually. And it would be really nice to have these design documents as part of the documentation. So maybe what we do is we have a process where a contributor will open a PR contributing the design doc as in addition to the documentation, right? And then we just add comments to the PR and basically say, I don't know about this point, or how would you implement that, or whatever. and then come to some consensus, and then that document is ultimately completed and then submitted, and then now it's part of the document, part of the documentation forever, and then the implementation can come later and reference that document.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah.
Anatoly?
Anatoly?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, AV trouble.
Is it just me, or I couldn't hear him?
No, it's me. I'm sorry. I was having trouble with my headset. So I think one thing that would be helpful with something like that is guidelines and maybe templates for how you want people to rate proposals, what you expect out of a design doc, what sort of changes you want to see design docs for. Some open source projects have more or less formality around these kinds of things, like Kafka has like KIPs, like Kafka improvement process docs, and I think they have guidelines for when you write one versus just like sending a patch. So I think that's something that would be like a helpful artifact if we're going down this route. Yeah, Liz.
That's a really nice idea. Absolutely, we can add a template for that. Yeah, and I like the idea of the. I think Python also does it as well. PHP, they've got these proposals that have a standard structure, and they're agreed upon, and then some consensus is found, and then they start the implementation. So I think it would be nice to not reinvent the wheel there.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with the template as well. I think we can do, I mean, in terms of facts and items, I think we can do multiple things, like small things, I guess. One is definitely the template. Like whenever someone creates a PR, we can make sure, hey, if it's a big enough feature, is there an issue there? Is there a consensus there? Something like that. But then that also has a problem, right? Because people create a PR, open a PR when the branch is ready. So the time and effort has been already been spent there. So another good thing would be like what Anatoly was saying, like make it more visible, the expectation, right? I think one good thing would be like adding it in the README and linking it to the contribution guide. Maybe that's someone already checks in the before contributing the open source project. I don't know. Or also we can I don't know, if we have a already issue opened, we can add a tag maybe that needs design, for example, so that anyone can pick up the issue. They can not just go and implement the feature directly, but just discuss the design. So the intention is here, like to somehow we should enable them to discuss the design upfront, right? So yeah, I think wherever it's possible to set the expectation, I think that's the action items in my opinion. That's the something to start with, I guess.
Okay, great. Well, I think unless somebody else has something else to add, I think we'll put together a PR to make these changes that Kavi was mentioning, the change to the contribution guide, to the README, and then the templates. And then we can submit that to the community and see what everyone thinks. Great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Thanks a lot for bringing this up. All right. So before moving on to the next one, does anyone have any final thoughts to add? And yeah, if you have any action items, just add it in the doc. I just opened a new, yeah, I added action items bullet point there. You can add anything you feel like that's worth adding. Okay, cool. So the next one, maybe before jumping into what's new in Loki, maybe we can do the other one first. Just moving this to the next one.
Just before you go on, Kavi, I think maybe reshare your screen for the purpose of the recording.
Okay, yeah, good point.
Thanks.
Okay. Hope everybody can see my screen. Yeah, just move this to the last one so that we can have a small discussion with the new people like that. So yeah, I think I don't know who added this one.
That was me.
Yeah. Okay, done. Yeah, go ahead.
More like a cool down exercise for the end of the call today. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, everybody, like, what's the reason you are here today, and what would you like to learn, or what would you expect from this call in general, so we can make this call even better. So, we don't want to waste anybody's time. We want to make these calls very useful. So, wondering if there's something which you like to see in the future from these calls.
Yeah, I would also add. Yeah, I mean, I would any like new people, just introduce yourself and how you can know about Loki. Are you using it? Or are you just a fan? Yeah, bit of information would be nice. Yeah, go ahead, Javi.
Well, I can start. I don't know who's part of Grafana and who's not, and so okay, I'll start. So yeah, I'm not really new in Loki community meetings because I used to come at global US based meetings, but yeah, I'm new for the EMEA. First time I join. First time I see you.
That's why we don't see you. You were joining the late ones.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I currently work at Giant Swarm, which is like we provide some managed Kubernetes, and I'm part of the observability team, and I'm mostly in charge of setting up Loki for our customers. I'm a big fan of everything you're doing at Grafana. I've been using in different companies for a few years now. I was an early adopter of Loki, Tempo, and really helped me in my different jobs. So I'm joining to be informed of what's going on, of what are the new features and stuff like that. And yeah, sometimes talking about how I plan to implement Loki in my company, and if I'm doing the right design choices for the setup. So yeah, live. I really like live talk. I have different ways to have some asynchronous discussions. We have a dedicated Slack channel because we are kind of partners with Grafana, but I prefer to go to the public channels, and I like live discussing like that. So that's why I'm coming.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. It's very useful.
Yeah, Mohammed, go ahead.
Oh.
Hey everyone. I'm so present myself. My name is Mohammed Amin. I go by Amin. I'm from the logging team at OpenShift, Red Hat. I've been working a little bit with the Loki community recently since I joined Red Hat, because we use it. We're going to be using it mainly as our logging storage solution. I'm going to be replacing Elasticsearch over here. So I've been contributing a few PRs, and I mainly work on the operator, but I've also contributed to the Loki main stack. Thank you, Dan. I'm actually, this is the first time I joined this meeting. I didn't know it existed. I'm fairly new to open source. I've only been consuming open source. I've never really contributed something major to open source. So everything's kind of fairly new to me. And Barry, I think you guys know Barry from our team. He's the team lead, and he encouraged me to join these meetings. So for my first meeting, my expectation was just to say hi to the amazing people at Grafana, and have a live chat instead of just always writing text. Going further, I think my expectation is is two things. It's to stay informed on everything that's coming, that's going to happen with Loki, but also to bring up topics that we would like to work on at Red Hat, and to see if it's aligned with the Grafana Loki vision. So yeah, those are two main reasons I'm going to be joining this meeting.
That's great. Thanks, Mohammed. And
Yeah,
one quick question,
Sure.
just to follow up. So I totally agree. Like we should do a better job as some maintainers, like to make visible what are the tasks people can pick it up, and like kind of like a roadmap and everything. I totally agree. I'm curious, like how do you pick up this task anyway? Like is it like just your personal interest? You just go randomly pick an issue, or how did you contribute these PRs?
So basically, the advancement of Loki features also advances our solution at OpenShift logging. So up until now, at least our vision has always been aligned. So for example, we want this new feature. It just happens that Grafana Loki also wants this new feature. And so it just goes smoothly. And so for now, it's coming from Perry. He's our team lead. He's doing a great job at synchronizing with the Grafana Loki team, and basically bringing the features that we both like into our backlog at Red Hat. And so basically that's how we pick up these things. We just see, okay, Grafana Loki, the community wants this. Grafana Loki wants this. We want this. Let's do it. So yeah, it's just basically vision alignment when it comes to implementing features into Loki.
Perfect. Thanks, Mohammed.
And well, yeah, just one more thing. The communication between our teams is very good, and it's one of the things why this our vision is aligned. Just want to say that.
Great. Thanks. Anyone else want to go next? Yeah, Anton, go ahead. I think you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Anatoly. I work at Dropbox. So we recently rolled out a pretty large scale deployment of Loki. And so my team, the telemetry team, was sort of in charge of that. And we worked with the Loki community throughout that rollout to sort of, make sure that Loki is able to scale to where we needed it to sort of be deployed. And so that was a pretty good experience, actually. The community was really great, and Grafana Labs engineers were super helpful. So the reason for me to come to these meetings is to also keep tabs on the roadmap, keep tabs on sort of the project direction, priorities, and make sure that what we're planning to do with Loki at Dropbox aligns with that. So I'm currently the tech lead for the team that owns Loki at Dropbox, and so I've been encouraging other people on the team to also participate as much as possible in the community, and so it's likely that you'll see some of those folks in these meetings as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I have just one follow-up. So were you using like any different solution before, and how long you've been using Loki, may I ask?
So we rolled out Loki over the course of like the last half, roughly, of 2022. And so what we had before Dropbox was sort of a hodgepodge of homegrown tools for log ops, and then Loki sort of replaced basically all of them. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. Great. Anyone else want to step in? Feel free. Yeah, Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, I can say something very short. I work at Grafana for over a year, but never really joined the community call, so really joined just to see what this is. I think, Kavi, you invited me even a few months ago, and I never showed up. It was really nice to see these interactions here, and I even learned some things like about the Loki project, which I did not know. In the future, I think I'll join again because I'm using it. Like I'm more of a user of Loki, but sometimes in weird ways which are not really supported, and looking if I can contribute maybe to those ways or learn if I should do it in other ways. Basically.
And thanks for your PS as well, Roger.
No problem.
Great, thanks for all the inputs. I think the next one sounds really interesting. Loki 2023. Should we go to the other one?
Yeah, I think it's very open-ended, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, feel free. Like, yeah, I think in my opinion, based on what people are saying here, I think as a Loki OSS itself, I think we should maybe have more visibility on the project scope and the project direction, more public and transparent about it, right? So yeah, given we have a lot of contributions coming in now, I think that's a good way to go. I think it's not new. I think Serial, I don't know how many people know here, he took a lot of steps before, like last year, previous year, to have a project to set the priorities and everything, so that anyone, not only from Grafana folks, anyone like public, go and check what's on the list, what's the priority, and what's the kind of like a direction, this is the priority we want, kind of thing, and they can start working on. Unfortunately, we don't have at least not in a nicer way, I would say. So currently, so yeah, I think that's something we should definitely focus, in my opinion, maybe 2023, more helpful to the new contributors, more helpful to the people who wants to know the direction of the project. Yeah. Yeah. Not the features, but the other things. Yeah, I mean, if anyone have any thoughts on like specific features that they want in Loki, or yeah, any process that we need to improve, also can come into this category. Feel free. Or any weird bugs that needs our attention, any critical bugs, yeah, feel free to talk about it.
One minute of silence to gather some ideas from the back of our heads.
I mean, I think we can also do this asynchronously, right? So what we can do also, I think Ed did it like on 2021, I think. We can open an issue and people like start committing it there. That will be the nice idea. We can also do the same. Yeah, Harvey, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, disclaimer. I think I have some wishes, but maybe it's already on the roadmap. Maybe I just don't. Maybe it's already existing, and I just don't know where they are, how to use it. So, okay. But in my opinion, there are two things that that I'd like to see, maybe just missed them. One is a way to, let's say, I have different Loki clusters in various places, and I would like to query all of them and have some, how to say, federation of all of these ones in one same interface. So I don't know if that's a feature that's available, possible. Thanos for Loki. But yeah, if we take the example of Prometheus, Thanos, Mimir is already a replacement for Thanos, and okay, it already works in clusters, but as far as I know, there's no clean way to have federation of different Lokis. So when I first talked about that to you Loki people, the answer was have one central Loki instance, but for various reasons, our customers don't want that. So yeah. And the other one idea is about, I have a feeling, I think Loki is really great for exploration of logs, for debugging, for live querying, but I'm not so sure about all the compliance stuff. Like when some logs have to be kept secure and you have to make sure they're not tempered or changed or anything. And for legal reasons, you may want to just push them to a volume, to a S3 object, but separated, and you want these logs encrypted and signed so that if there is any legal stuff, you can read them and you will be sure that nobody changed them. And for these reasons, we have some pipelines that will retrieve the logs and send them to Loki and send them to something else that will store them. If Loki could have some like remote write feature to send the logs to another Promtail, FluentD, or whatever, would be really great, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's great actually. So I think it's currently in the enterprise version of Loki, I guess. This the second thing you were talking about. Can we remote write it to some place? I think we have this exporter feature in the enterprise Loki. We have so basically you just give your own bucket and we just write to it like based on the period, like this old log should go into my bucket or something like that, right? So yeah, I think it's not yet open source. I don't know what's the plan there. Maybe Dan have some idea. I don't know.
No. Sorry, Loki. The logs exporter, as far as I know, it's open sourced already, and you can also use it in the cloud. No, I'm wrong. It's just like in the cloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know that. I thought it's only for the specific customers. But yeah. I think it's got something called log archiver or something. You can search in the Grafana.
Cloud logs export.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, if anyone can add a link, that would be nice there. But yeah, but I mean, it's not like exactly what you mentioned, maybe Harvey, but yeah, that's something close. But yeah, all the encryption and other thing, I think we don't have that yet, as far as I know.
No, but yeah, log exporter. If this exporter would manage encryption, I guess it's okay. If after this exporter, what we send the logs to could manage encryption, I think it would be nice. But okay, and
with the logs exporter.
Yeah,
okay.
Go on.
No, I just want to say, like with the logs exporter, we just like ship the logs to your own bucket, so then you can do whatever you want with the logs, like encrypt them, decrypt them. I think the bad part is that if you if you want to read them via Loki again, then you need they need to be decrypted, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And one reason I see why the log exporter should not be limited to cloud is we have a use case with metrics, at least, that we have our local Prometheus grabbing a lot of data, and for some specific data that we want to keep long term, we remote write them to Grafana Cloud. And we could do the same with the logs. Like, we grab all the logs locally, but we don't want to keep all of them. And we would like, from our local open source instance of Loki, be able to send some logs to Grafana Cloud. Would it make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Thanks, Henry. Yeah, I also like the first one, something like a UI for the operator. We have been focusing more on the Loki user. It should be nice to have some UI to manage the fleet of Loki clusters for the operators. It's also a good idea. And I'm curious about this one. So when you say like manage this Loki cluster, so do you face any specific pain point to manage this cluster currently? To which in first place you're asking this feature? I'm just curious.
Well, currently we are not really advanced. Currently we have one central Loki. We had some issues with the distributed setup, but we switched to simple scalable setup and to the official Helm charts now. So it's really simpler. It helps a lot. And so no, I don't have anything to complain about. It's working well. We are not at big scale yet for the moment, so no.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
And especially because customers don't want the central Loki instance and want their own per customer Loki installation, I guess we won't have any big scaling issues.
Yep. And to your first point about the query federation, we've been thinking about that. Actually, we have a design doc for a few months, I think, already in place. We just didn't have the chance to touch it yet. But yeah, we want to do the same, like, query, more clusters from a single place, federate that to one single place, and but I think it should come up in the next. Well, I don't want to make a promise while on the recording, but I think we're going to talk a bit about it again, like in the next 3-6 months.
Great. I really love to hear that, because it means we just have to wait.
Yeah, we were actually supposed to start it already, but yeah, as always, like some other stuff came up.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of like exactly things also we can attract external contributors, right? It doesn't have to be done everything from the internal people. If you have like proper issues opened with more visibility on the design doc and everything. But yeah, yeah. Cool. Thanks for sharing your thoughts here. We have 4 minutes left. If anyone have any final thoughts to add. By the way, also I can give a small like about this meeting. So we also have like one in 12 UTC and the other in like 17 UTC, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's for the, I think this is specifically for like APAC and EU folks. that should fit in their time zone. And yeah, if any of you from US time zone, there is also the later one. All you need to do is just on the top of the doc, there is this calendar where you can subscribe. And yeah, you will see all the meetings there. Even if you change in the future, you will get notified. So yeah. So if no one has any thoughts, then we can wrap it up. Thanks everyone again for joining. And once again, Happy New Year. And yeah, we are excited for 2023, the Loki. And yeah, hope you have a great weekend. Thanks everyone.
See you
Thank you,
soon.
everyone.
See you
Bye-bye.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.